Journeys Ahead. Expanded Universe. T. The Matterbirth. Chapter 2. 0 to 100. Written and narrated by T.S. ProArt. The shimmering blue flare of T's portal ripped open a wide, sapphire star-shaped hole in reality, spitting him and his hat onto a landscape unlike his familiar, field-strewn home. A strangled scream tore through his throat as he tumbled head over heels. His body was like a projectile launched across a slope of strangely luminescent white grass. This grass, cold beneath his weight, released a cloud of pollen-like dust with each tumbling roll he made down the unfortunate hill he was upon. After several shouts of pain, he finally landed with a face-planted splash in a cold, damp puddle, the water bubbling momentarily around his face. Slowly, he hauled himself up in pain, coughing and wheezing. However, before T could fully catch his breath, the five-legged raccoon also materialized from the portal, smacking him squarely on the back of the head. The impact sent the mechanic down again, leaving the rodent to flop, get up, and scurry away into the surreal vegetation. Gasping for air, T pushed himself upright once more, his hands brushing against the oddly pulsating white grass. His hat, miraculously intact, lay nearby, its brim shimmering white against the faint inner light of the grass. Oh, what the... He groaned, while picking up his signature item, its blue lacing now torn and wet. Whoa. He then breathed, mesmerized by the subtle pulse of light within the grass.
My creator, are you okay?
Jet's digital voice crackled, while his screen face spun in a dizzying display as he too recollected himself. I guess, T mumbled, brushing off his hat and placing it back upon his head. Awe and trepidation now warred in his eyes as he took in his surroundings. T stood in a clearing before a dark set of woods. The tree's bark was twisted in unnatural patterns, their leaves a ghastly mix of black and purple bioluminescence. The sky above was a churning canvas of black and dark lavender clouds, heavy with the lingering scent of rain. Turning the other way, the mechanic took note of a stretched field of strange wildflowers, weeds, and long grass swaying in a chilling breeze, a breeze that made his skin crawl. Jet, where are we? T whispered, his gaze now being drawn to a colossal storm cloud obscuring what looked like a massive city in the distance.
I do not know, my creator. I am not getting a signal. Google Maps is down. Scratch that. Everything seems to be down.
T then glanced back at the portal on the hill he had fallen down, watching as its shimmering blue light slowly faded in the nothingness. As the portal vanished, the upside-down crest on his hand, which had pulsed blue too, also faded, leaving him stunned where he stood. What the... he muttered, feeling the lingering tingle where the energy had been. How did I do that? What even was that? T turned back to the hidden city, his breath tense, his eyes wide in shock.
If I were to take an easy guess, you opened a portal, one that led us to...
Jet paused, his small face furrowing.
This is not Earth,
he realized, as his systems tried to understand what was going on. What? No, this has to be Earth. Right? T insisted, his voice laced with disbelief. His words, however, were suddenly cut short by a distant but violent boom. He whipped his head back towards the storm, his breath catching in his throat. In the distance were two sleek, golden jets, trailing neon blue exhaust. They had emerged from the storm's edge, followed by a squadron of menacing black crafts. They had sharp winged ridges and what looked to be extending arms, carrying artillery and blade-like extensions. Within moments, these darker craft zipped around and destroyed the golden ships. Explosions of blue and yellow ruptured outwards, making T gasp and stumble back. What in the hell? He mumbled as the ships released what could only be described as a battle cry, a shrill eruption of a war horn. Then, with a chilling grace, they turned around by shifting and flipping, as opposed to simply making a roundabout. Then, they headed straight for T's overall direction. As they did, T could hear the approaching roar of their engines, while he also watched as several purple glowing lights dropped from their backsides upon their approach. Ducking instinctively, T held his cap and sealed his eyes shut. He then turned away as the ship soared over him, moving as fast as a speeding train. He felt the concussive force of their passing, a brutal blast of wind that nearly toppled him. Jesus Christ! He shouted, scrambling to his feet as the ships disappeared into the storm clouds. They hadn't seen him. Okay, you're right. This is definitely not Earth. T accepted, swallowing hard.
You programmed me to be smarter than the average phone. Why would you not trust my word, Creator?
Jet asked. Are you seriously asking me that now? T snapped, his voice sharp with a rising panic. Before an argument could erupt, they stopped, their eyes widening as they spotted the purple projectiles falling from the sky. Many made impact near the storm, except for one, as it was heading straight for them. T and Jed watched as this projectile slammed into the field, unleashing a pulse of purple energy that didn't destroy the land, but seemed to transport something hidden within the tall grass. T and Jet stared, speechless as the brush moved. Something was rising from the depths, a dark mass shrouded by the shadows and the swaying weeds. Then, T saw them. Two beady purple eyes staring back at him. What the? He whispered, as a cold dread seized his heart. Then, whatever was in the grass launched itself from its landing spot and ducked into the field, the only warning of its approach being the rustling of the flowers. T and Jet stared, speechless as the brush moved. Something was rising from the depths, a dark mass shrouded by shadows and the swaying weeds. T didn't process what he was seeing at first, until the dawning realization that what he had been looking at was coming towards him. Whoa. Wait, oh God, wait! He cried, the words strangled by fear. Finally, thinking rationally, he spun on his heel, his legs pumping with a desperate, awkward rhythm as he ran past the hill and plunged into the dense woods. As he ran, the undergrowth began ripping at his clothes. Wait! He gasped, the chilling reality settling in. Whatever pursued him was far larger, far more terrifying than he'd ever imagined, all signified by its thundering footfalls. Jet! What is that thing? T yelled, his voice cracking with exertion as he stumbled through a tangled maze of trees. His breath came in ragged gasps, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird in a house.
I don't know, but you best keep moving. Whatever it is, it seems big.
Jet's voice was laced with a tremor of alarm, the words crackling through the little speakers in his form. T ran, his arms flailing, his body a chaotic whirlwind of limbs as he weaved between ancient oaks and younger saplings. He could faintly see a colossal shadow moving alongside him, a blurry, monstrous shape that seemed to triple his own size. It was vast and ominous, as wide as a large truck. Gasping for air, he thrusted his arms outwards, while his horns began to hum with a faint, ethereal energy. Portal! Go, Portal! He cried, desperation lending a frantic edge to his voice. Portal, go! Please, Portal, go! Please! The plea died in his throat, replaced by a frustrated roar over his strange power that failed him. Why isn't this working? he bellowed, the question swallowed by a scream of sheer terror as a massive black tendril whipped past his head, severing several trees with ease. This near miss only spurred T on, pushing him even further into the frantic pace of the escape. What is that? T gasped as the monstrous weight of the creature's presence grew heavier with each stride. As it drew closer, its form resolved itself from the shadows, revealing a terrifying silhouette. It moved on all fours, a horrifying parody of a primate, possessed of enormous hands and spindly hind legs. A thick tail lashed from side to side, while its head, crowned with a pair of immense bull-like horns, completed the grotesque image. This can't be happening! This can't be happening! T wailed, his voice a mixture of terror and disbelief. Then, the beast lunged. A single, razor-sharp claw tore through the air, striking T with brutal force, sending him tumbling over through the undergrowth. He landed hard in a large, circular clearing, the impact jarring his entire body. Leaves crunched beneath him as he skidded to a halt, a fallen log breaking his fall just enough to prevent some additional injury. He then felt sharp, agonizing pain in his left shoulder. His metal shoulder snapped, the internal workings tearing his flesh. He howled in agony, slumping against the log, clutching his ruined limb.
T! Are you okay?
Jet's voice was strained as his screen flickered with a glitching effect. No! My arm's dislocated! T groaned, the searing pain momentarily eclipsing his fear. Shaking, he attempted to reset his dislocated shoulder, but before he could, his attacker emerged from the trees. The creature that clawed into the clearing was a nightmare-given form. It possessed the hulking body of a primate-akin form, a twisted, grotesque parody of a gorilla, its ideal image warped and distorted. Its face resembled a pug's features taken to a horrifying extreme, flattened with protruding fangs, gray, snot-filled nostrils, and beady, malevolent purple eyes. It moved on its knuckles, its massive hands ending in four clawed fingers. Its body was a bizarre mixture of textures, fur matted over plating similar to an armadillo's, added with a long, club-like tail completing the monstrous package. But atop its back was a rider. Clad in black, bound by ropes and pelts, yet adorned with cold, gleaming steel armor, the rider was a figure of terrifying grace. A deep, sapphire blue visor covered their face, obscuring their features completely. The left hand gripped the creature's harness straps, the right holding a spear, its shaft a vibrant and unsettling purple. The image was surreal, a horrifying blend of prehistoric horror and futuristic weaponry. It was, he thought numbly, something straight out of a predatory sci-fi film. He and Jet were speechless, paralyzed by the sheer impossibility of the scene. The beast lumbered closer, the rider pointing the spear directly at T's head. This was it, he thought. This was how he would die. T closed his eyes, thinking back to the time where he truly felt happy, going to the park with his ma and pa, making Jet at a very young age, playing with his long since passed dog, and many other moments from his childhood. Yet, before the spear could fall, a new sound sliced through the stunned silence. The rustling of leaves, the snapping of twigs, and a sound that made the monstrous creature pause in its advance. The shadows suddenly spat forth a volley of burning orange shards, each a razor-sharp crystal whizzing through the air. They all slammed into the rider atop the monstrous beast, their body instantly collapsing from the impacts. T suddenly opened his eyes, watching as the rider slumped lifelessly, his fall startling the creature into a furious whirl. The orange shards, now dislodging from the being's body, flew back through the air, their crystalline ends shimmering with an inner fire. Then they appeared. Leaping from the trees with impossible grace, a figure arced high into the air, a blur of motion against the darkened sky. The scattered shards coalesced, drawn to a hilt held in the figure's right hand, reforming into a magnificent weapon, a hybrid of axe and sword, radiating an intense orange light. The figure landed with a silent thud. The blade, a symphony of crystal edges, plunged into the monster's back. The creature recoiled, clawing at the wound as the figure moved with terrifying speed. With a swift, almost balletic movement, the figure flipped backwards, the blade slicing through the monster's armored hide, opening a gaping wound. T couldn't really make out the figure's features clearly, but he saw flashes of bright orange armor and matching cloth. With another slash, they swung the sword, its shards launching themselves, crystalline projectiles piercing the beast's thick hide. The monster stumbled, roaring in pain. With a sharp yank of the hilt, the figure retracted the shards, then unleashed them again, this time targeting the creature's head. Its final roar was cut short, as the beast then crashed to the earth, its life extinguished as the shards went in through its mouth and exited the back of its skull. Landing back to the ground, the figure crouched upon landfall, and then stood back up, motionless, their back the T, while the weapon reformed upon its hilt once more. Only now as they stood, did T get a good look. They wore dark gray-brown mixed with orange crystal-like armor, accented with gold that partially covered their upper body and arms. A short, orange-yellow kilt, bronze steel armor guards, and a shield strapped to their back completed their base attire, along with dark orange-brown leggings and sturdy leather shoes. Their hair was a vibrant orange-red, curled and braided, held in place by a patterned bandana. Then, the figure at last turned themselves around, revealing themselves to be a girl. Her skin was a warm summer brown, her ears pointed like an elf's, and her face sprinkled with freckles. Her eyes were a striking yellow with orange irises, glowing with an inner light. Small orange earrings, crafted from the same crystal as her weapon, adorned her ears. Then, T noticed the war paint on her forehead. 2 sharp angles beneath her eyes, and an inverted triangle identical to the rune mark that appeared on his own hand. The same symbol was etched on her shield too, as well as her breastplate and even her belt buckle. Whoa. T gasped, feeling the pain fade for a moment in the warrior's presence. Raising her weapon, she rested it over her shoulder, just as a small smile graced her lips. Hey there, stranger! You mind telling me what in Matira's name you're doing all the way out here in the Badlands? She asked, her voice spry and full of courage, as she extended a gloved hand down. What? T stammered, glaring at her outstretched palm. Yeah, it's dangerous to be out here. I thought we all knew this. You're lucky me and my squad were in the area. You were almost hound mush, buddy. T slowly reached out, his hand meeting hers. Thank you. What the hell is this place? What's going on? The woman, with surprising strength, pulled him up to his feet with ease. What do you mean, what's going on? That thing hit your head or something? We're in the middle of a war. She stopped abruptly, her gaze locking on the T's face. Her playful, curious expression vanished, replaced by widening eyes and a dropped jaw. Wait just a second, she whispered, leaning in until their foreheads were nearly touching. T felt his cheeks flush with a berry blue warmth. Up close, she was breathtakingly beautiful, but her words left him confused. Ma'am, is everything okay? T asked, causing her to pull back. What? Yes, I'm fine. Who are you? What's your name? T caught his breath, adjusting his hat. T, the name's T. Who are you? He asked, noticing that she was a few inches taller than himself. Jida. I'm Jida Woods, she replied, her face still etched with bewilderment at his features. Jida, hi, T said, their eyes interlocking for a moment.
Hello there as well. My name is Jet. Pleasure to meet you, Jida.
the little device from T's pocket exclaimed. Jada's confused expression shifted to one of utter astonishment now, as reality began to set in for her. Jada, I just have to ask, where the hell am I? And what's going... Before T could finish his second attempt at getting answers, Jada suddenly reached out, taking him by the hand. She quickly sheathed her sword, and then enacted some kind of spell with her freed hand, whispering, Mel Brothama, thy symbol. The rune on T's hand, it at last flared to life. What the... Whoa, how did you... He breathed, just as Jada's eyes widened even larger. Oh my stars. You've come home. Wait, what? Before Jada could explain, the rumble of a powerful engine shattered the silence. The sound quickly escalated, a crescendo of heavy machinery tearing through the undergrowth. Snapping their heads around, T and Jada watched as a colossal vehicle resembling a hyper-advanced Hummer burst through the trees. It had a camouflage paint job of purples, a seamless blend of lavenders and browns that concealed its sleek, angular form until the last moment. Burning green energy pulsed within its oversized tires, their suspensions lifted high, giving the vehicle an aggressive, almost predatory stance. Within its open top, 3 figures occupied its interior. In the back sat a striking humanoid bee-like being. She was tall and slender, wearing simple, low-cut, dirty mustard-colored garments that barely contained her insectoid form. Her hair was a vibrant ruby red that was cropped short, framing 2 large, sensitive antennae that twitched occasionally. Her eyes, dark and intense, held pupils that gleamed with an almost unnatural brightness that matched a quivering mouth. 4 large wings folded neatly behind her. She even had a massive, intricately designed arm brace attached to her right limb, further emphasizing her formidable nature. Her expression was one of acute stress, her face tight with worry, as a large stinger behind her quivered. Flanking her were 2 self-levitating robots, a striking contrast to the organic beauty of their passenger. One, predominantly orange-gray and muted greens, was spherical in shape with 2 thick, segmented arms ending in clawed hands. Its face, a round screen, displayed a perpetually dopey expression. A large antennae sprouted from its side. Its companion was a near-identical model in shades of blue, featuring a smaller upside-down face and thinner arms and longer body. This robot seemed to serve as the vehicle's makeshift control, using its hands for pushing the pedals and brakes while the orange one had been driving. General, get in! We gotta move! Now! The voice of the orange robot cut through the air. It leaned precariously over the open door, gesturing wildly. Jada's eyes darted between the approaching vehicle and T. With a swift movement, she seized his good hand, startling him. Look, I'll explain everything when we get out of this mess. We're in a really bad spot. And by really, I mean really. She exclaimed, already turning and sprinting towards the vehicle, dragging a stunned T behind her. What? Wait, the questions can't wait! T stammered, his voice barely audible over the roar of the engine. Jada, without breaking stride, practically tossed him into the vehicle's interior. Save it for later, rookie! She snapped, sliding to the driver's seat. She then leveled a frustrated glare at the robots. Did you two seriously not combine before driving? She shouted. Hey, I wanted to, but Nock said it was unnecessary. The blue robot stated, apparently accusing the one that was named Nock. Cut! We aren't gonna waste our battle mode capacity on driving! The orange robot, Nock, retorted. T silently repeated the names under his breath, a growing sense of bewilderment washing over him. He then looked up to find himself beneath the curious gaze of the bee-like woman, who tilted her head slightly. Oh, hi. She offered a little wave to accompany the greet. T managed a nervous wave back. Who the heck is this extra luggage? Cod asked, tilting his body in a gesture of inquisitive confusion. He's pretty damn important luggage, that's what. Jada retorted, slamming her foot on the accelerator. The vehicle lurched forwards, moving ahead with terrifying speed. What the hell is happening? T yelled, finally regaining his balance. As he did, everyone in the vehicle suddenly took note of his features and fell silent in shock. In response, T's horns began to hum faintly, causing every occupant of the vehicle to suddenly go wide-eyed. What? T shouted, his question hung in the air, followed by a collective realizing gasp. The bee-like woman reached out and gently took hold of T's humming horns. Nope, not here. Please do not do that now. Oh my god, he's actually here. She whispered, her voice strained with disbelief. Lee, be careful! Nock warned, his face displaying a mixture of alarm and awe as he leaned towards T. I don't believe this. It's him, Nock stated, his voice echoing in the confined space of the vehicle. T instinctively pushed the robot back, his eyes wide with alarm and confusion. What the hell are you all talking about? He demanded, his voice laced with a mounting sense of dread. Before anyone could answer, a new and far more immediate threat emerged from the shadows. 3 massive, tank-like vehicles, bulky, heavily armored, and bristling with an array of weapons, materialized from the darkness. Their menacing presence left no doubt in anyone's mind that the next few moments would be a fight for survival. Jida slammed the accelerator, launching their vehicle out of the forest in a burst of green-tinged exhaust. T bounced violently in the back, causing Lee to reach down and grip him firmly. Hang on, stranger! This is the part where things get really scary! Lee's nervous smile barely registered with T, who was already on the verge of a panic attack. What do you mean this is the scary part? T's eyes darted wildly around the claustrophobic interior as Jida wrestled the vehicle onto what was left of a road, ripping through the tattered remains of an abandoned town outside the forest. Buildings were hollowed out, signs were twisted and broken, monuments to a past life obliterated by whatever cataclysm had fallen upon this world. The sounds of the pursuing tanks grew both louder and closer. Then came the telltale whine of their weaponry charging. Blasts of livid purple and deep suffocating blue erupted from the darkness, streaking past the speeding car. Jida swerved violently, dodging the enemy bolts that left smoking craters in their wake. Ruptures of exploding stone showered the vehicle from behind, making T shout without words. 2 of the pursuing tanks then fanned out, flanking them, forcing Jida to make increasingly dangerous maneuvers. The tank directly behind them gained ground. A section on its front end whirred open, revealing twin turrets that immediately targeted the vehicle's rear wheels. Lee, stop sitting there and take them out! Jida shouted, wrenching the steering wheel hard to the right, sending them careening down a debris-strewn street. Lee nodded sharply. The brace on her right arm, to T's shock, then transformed, morphing into a large, gleaming blaster of steaming steel, adorned with that same crest that always seemed to pulse with energy. Christ almighty! T exclaimed, finally getting a proper look at Lee. Her insectoid frame, now standing, towered over him. Keep it steady, General! Lee cried out as she leaned half of her body out the window that braced against the car's frame. Sorry, new guy. This might hurt your little ear holes. With that, she unleashed a barrage of golden projectiles. Each energy round exploded from the blaster's barrel, accelerating into a dazzling arc before impacting the tank. Upon contact, the golden bolts detonated into a scattering of smaller, honeycomb-shaped fragments, creating a devastating scatterblast. Help her out, please! Jida then yelled to Nock and Cott as she navigated a particularly treacherous turn, nearly clipping the corner of what was once a vehicle's dealership. Without a word, the 2 robots began to disassemble themselves before T's wide, disbelieving eyes. Metallic limbs and circuits whirred as they reorganized, reforming into a single humanoid robot. Their new form was a hybrid of their individual designs, a patchwork of orange and blue plating, a screen face displaying a fusion of their features, and lanky arms and legs. Tocon activated! They announced in a unified voice, a blend of their individual tones. With astonishing agility, Tokan leapt onto the roof of the vehicle, landing precariously on their upper rim. As they steadied themselves, a rocket streaked towards them from the pursuing tank. Tokan simply smirked, tilted a shoulder, and let the projectile pass harmlessly by. In the same fluid motion, they extended their right arm, snatched the rocket mid-flight, and hurled it back at the tank with improbable strength. "Uh-oh!" they said with a cheeky tone. The missile slammed into the tank, triggering a catastrophic explosion. The machine shattered into 1,000 pieces, showering the street with debris. Lee laughed at the small victory, a triumphant buzzing sound that left her fist pumping with her weapon. "This isn't real. It's just a bad dream. This is all a bad dream." T mumbled, squeezing his eyes shut and pulling his cap down, trying to regulate his ragged breathing. Sorry, this is not a dream, champ," Lee replied, hauling herself alongside the now conjoined Knock and Cot back into the vehicle. Jaida then steered out of the ravaged town and into a sprawling field. The tall grass exploded before them, releasing clouds of white pollen to the air. T couldn't believe this. Any of this. "What's your name, by the way?" Tokan asked, but was cut short as the two remaining tanks returned. One slammed to the side of the vehicle, the other continuing to unleash blasts from afar. Everyone inside gasped as Jaida cursed under her breath. Tokan immediately began firing, their arms transforming into small, rapid-fire cannons. Meanwhile, Lee gently reached out and took T's injured arm in her three-fingered hands. "Hey, let me help you out here." Her antennas and eyes then began to glow with a ruby-red luminescence. "Ow! What are you?" T stammered, feeling the warmth of Lee's touch on his skin. "Sovno, pinleso, yosa," she whispered, her voice a low hum. A gentle energy flowed from her hands into T's arm then. Miraculously, the throbbing subsided, the pain reduced, and the injury vanished. She had healed him. What? Whoa, thanks, that was cool." T was speechless, utterly bewildered as he moved his arm with ease. Lee simply nodded, a small, compassionate grin on her face. "General, we gotta shake them!" Tokan said nervously as a stray blast struck them, sending the robot dividing, spitting Knock and Cot crashing to the floor. Jaida scanned their surroundings, desperately searching for an escape route. After a few long, dragging seconds, she saw it. There was a cliff face in the distance, a perilous drop down to a rocky and broken terrain. "Hey, do you guys remember that old escape trick you hate?" she yelled, wrenching the vehicle into a hard right turn. "Oh no. No. Knock cried out, while Lee and Cot exchanged nervous glances. "Good, because I have an idea." Jaida then slammed a button on the vehicle's console. As she did, two cable connectors shot out from the vehicle's reinforced back bumper, lashing onto the pursuing tanks with a metallic clang. "Wait, what are you talking about? What are you doing?" T asked, his voice rising in pitch. Jaida then floored the accelerator, jamming the pedal down. They were now heading straight for the cliff. Wait, what the hell what are you doing?" T cried. Jaida quickly leapt out of her driver's seat, pulling the scared mechanic up. As she did, Lee scooped Knock and Cot up as well, while her wings unfolded with a snap. "Hold on to me!" she yelled, as T finally grasped the gravity of the situation. "Oh my god!" he shrieked, wrapping his arms around Jaida. "Oh my god!" he cried again, as they leapt from the speeding vehicle, right as it went soaring over the ledge. The fall was terrifying. T screamed for the descent he endured. As the vehicle and the two attached tanks exploded below into a ball of fire, Jaida drew her sword and swung it forwards. The blade shimmered, and its orange shards coalesced into a long, rope-like formation, one that latched onto a rock jutting out of the cliff face. The weapon's inner gravity field saved them from their plummet, transforming the fall into a heroic swing. Arcing up and over, Jaida flung them back towards the edge of the cliff, just as a geyser of tires, metal, and fire erupted from the wreckage below. Landing and breathing heavily, both T and Jida tried to regain their composure. Jida recovered quickly, but T could only stumble out of her arms to one knee as she let go of him. Clutching at his chest, T breathed hard, desperately trying to catch his breath. Panic still burdened in his eyes, and he checked his overalls, making sure Jet was still there. He huffed with teary eyes as he finally fell upon his rear. Turning, he looked back to the woman with beautiful eyes. Jida carefully knelt in front of him, her eyes full of concern. Hey, you okay there, big guy? She reached out, her hand hovering and then resting on his shoulder. No, not really. He admitted, as Lee, along with Knock and Cott, landed softly behind them, their expressions bewildered. Before T could speak again, a new sound filled the air, a low hum conjoined by thrusters. What now? He cried, but noticed that his saviors didn't flinch. Rather, most sighed with a sense of relief. Breaking through the darkness, a sleek craft descended from the clouds, a spotlight illuminating the 5 figures on the cliff. The vessel was gunmetal white, with elongated wing-like structures and prominent angular protrusions. Small openings and vents dotted the surface, giving it an almost heroic air. Topped upon its belly was once again that same upside-down triangle symbol. As it drew closer, the light illuminated Jida, Lee, Knock, and Cott, making them appear like guardian angels silhouetted against the twilight sky. Though he had barely learned their names, T felt compelled to ask, "Who the hell are you guys?" Jida gently removed her hand from T's shoulder, then offered it to him to take in his own. A firm but compassionate smirk then graced her lips, making the tense emotions fade. "We're the Resistance. Let's get you and your little friend out of here."